All right, we're doing this. We're about ready.
I'm ready.
Start us off whenever you're ready, Ryan.
Ahem, ahem. Hello, Internet, and welcome back for another wonderful episode of the Crash Content Podcast. We are people, and we listened and have listened, will listen, have listened, and are music. We're doing music. We're talking about Speedcore, Death Grips, specifically Bottomless Pit, as well as Hoobastank's The Reason. We are going to start our discussion with Death Grips. So, I guess, have either of you, like, what are your guys' like experiences with Death Grips, if any at all?
The remix I posted. That is my full experience with Death Grips up before you posted this.
Hang on. So you're calling this a remix. It is not a remix. It is a mashup of Death Grips with Megan Trainor. I think it's important that we get that right.
True, but that is
Megan
quality
Trainor.
music right there.
So,
So for a while I just knew them as like SoundCloud meme song, but then you posted this album. I'm like, wait a minute, I know that voice. This is that.
This is MC Ride. So yeah, Alex, had you heard of Death Grips or have any sort of thing?
I had definitely heard of them. Yeah, I was familiar with them as being kind of a sort of alternative or not mainstream type of experimental music. I knew that was what they were sort of generally thought of as. I had never actually listened to them. I just heard of them until now when I listened to Bottomless Pit a couple times. So it was pretty new for me. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I'm not like a super mega Death Grips person. I like the band. I greatly and deeply respect them and their music. I saw them live once actually, on a few years ago, and that was cool. But yeah, like, so I don't want to like, if you're listening, viewer, and you're like hardcore Death Grips guy, like, sorry if I like am not doing it justice or whatever, if I miss certain points or whatever. But basically, Death Grips, just as a quick introduction to the group, if for those who are unaware, Death Grips is an experimental, like abrasive electronic hip hop group, and they do other sort of things. Like they have like some like pieces that are more so just like instrumental like electronic experimental stuff, and so it's not purely hip hop, but that's pretty much what they're known for. That's like their main gig is that sort of thing. And this is their, I don't even know actually what number album, but it came out in 2016, and their their main like takeoff point was in 2010, with the Money Store. So the Money Store is like a highly acclaimed like album in the underground like music scene. It basically planted the seed for a lot of kind of like modern hip hop stuff that has definitely blossomed, from Death Grips, and is now very, their sound is definitely very influential on today's sort of world of hip hop and electronic and experimental music. And yeah, so if you really wanted to get like the contextual understanding, you should definitely listen to The Money Store. It's got like really cool album art too. It's sick. The reason I'm not talking about that album and I'm instead talking about Bottomless Pit is because I have like I've listened to The Money Store like a fuckload of times. I won't say I've run it dry, but it's I've played a lot, and I've just sort of just been listening to re-listening to Bottomless Pit lately. So I figured I would pick that as my choice for this episode. But yeah, so Death Grips consists of two main members, being Zach Hill and MC Ride. Zach Hill, I don't think I don't think MC Ride has any other projects other than Death Grips. But I'm sure somebody is listening to this and is already triggered. But if that's not the case, I'm not sure. I know Zach Hill has a bunch of other stuff, and I've listened to a bunch of his other stuff. Like he has a noise band, a noise rock, math rock band called Hella, and they have a couple of really cool albums. And there's also like the ILYs, which is more like experimental, sort of like garage sort of rock. And so yeah, they've definitely got a bunch of different projects, but Death Grips is the main one. It's the most prominent for many reasons. So yeah, this album is really fucking good, really fucking cool. So what are your guys' initial impressions of Bottomless Pit? Alex, you want to start?
Yeah, sure. So I listened to this a couple times. The first time through, I had trouble getting into some of the songs. The more I listened to it, the more it grew on me. My favorite tracks from this, the standout ones, are Giving Bad People Good Ideas, Warping, and Eh. I think with Giving Bad People Good Ideas, they have this was, I think, maybe the only one that had like actual singing in it, where you have a voice singing that one line, giving bad people good ideas, and then they loop it and change the speed and the pitch a little bit. I think that's a really good compliment to like the sort of, in contrast to the other types of sounds they do, the sort of like the faster pounding kind of aggressive sounding stuff, having a line being sung in contrast to that with certain verses, that really worked for me. It made the song notable. The phrase "giving bad people good ideas" I think is a cool, you can kind of wonder about what it means, and it has a sort of aesthetic or something kind of sense to it that fits with the style of music, as well as with Warping, where he's talking about warping and losing his form and stuff, and his voice it fits with that theme, warping and all this stuff.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. I definitely got warped. Felt like I was warping listening to it. And is like just easy to identify with. It's like,
Bro,
I am like like fucks fail to understand that, but it's like that. So yeah. I worked out to this one of the times I listened to it. I think I listened to it 2 or 3 times. Good music to work out to. Really good for that.
Definitely.
A question I had about this, your opinion of it. How, if at all, do you think the lyrics of these songs influenced your opinion of them or your experience with them? Because that was like, for the most part, you can't understand the lyrics. And I was kind of wondering, what are they saying? Or like, should I investigate it? Should I care?
Yes, there's definitely, like, the lyrics are meaningful and worthwhile. They're definitely not immediately apparent, but the more you listen, and if you have to like read a lyric sheet, that's usually what I do. Is like, when I've listened to an album a certain amount of times and I'm like, I'm just not pulling, the lyrics just aren't pulling themselves at me, I usually just go genius.com and I look up Death Grips. And doing that and like reading the lyrics while I'm listening to the song, it like clicks in a way. So yeah, that's definitely a worthwhile experience if you're interested. I don't think, like, there's even without the lyrics, there's definitely a lot to grab onto on this album. It's not necessarily essential that you go out of your way to look up the lyrics, but I do think it can attach you to the work a bit more. So yeah. Eric, what were your impressions?
So I did my homework for once, and I actually have some notes for these albums. Some highlights from here. I was just writing this down while I was listening, and just like kind of stream of consciousness in the moment. Very rough, gritty, dirty feel, but well executed. It feels like it's in a fog where it's impossible to focus on or single out any one genre or type. Like it feels like a lot of different, big mashup of lots of different flavors of music all at once, and it never like, it's not like, oh, now it's this, now it's this, now it's kind of like all of them at the same time. And like,
that is exactly why, like, I said it was like electronic, abrasive, experimental hip hop or whatever. But that, just like hearing that do it. Like it's
Yeah,
like
I
those
think I'd
things
put
are
like
there, but it's definitely it definitely like goes beyond that. It's like it's hard to really shape what it is. It is what it is. It's just like, you know.
it's its own thing. Like the best I had, like I tried, that was like metal industrial techno rap question mark.
Yeah,
It's
those are good tags.
like yeah, it's like all of it all at once, which is interesting. And
Yeah.
one of the other things I like a lot is that none of the songs are like even within each individual song, they're not very repetitive. Like each song kind of goes like all over the place, back and forth,
Yeah,
and has several different styles like per song, which is like
what
it never like no track ever gets like boring or like feels samey, which is interesting because it's like there is a very much like a feel, like a cohesive feel to the whole album of what they're trying to go for, but each individual piece of it is very different from each other one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What do you guys think of Hothead?
Which one was that?
The second track where he's like blah, 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 oh no, Hothead.
So I got this feeling like yes, this is like a very good work of art and like, you know, should be taken seriously, but every once in a while I feel like we're getting trolled a little bit. That was one of those tracks that I'm like, are they messing with us? That and then the music video for Bad People Good Ideas. I'm like,
Oh, I haven't seen it.
how have you not seen it? Oh my gosh, you could go watch that. It, literally, they just like, it's just like an HD video of them like tearing a boot apart and like flopping it around and like flapping it so it's making it talk, and it's the goofiest thing.
Yeah, no, they have really weird, like bizarre music videos, of
Like
which are
it's just
really cool,
it's
like
just them
really
playing the
weird.
song over him like just like tearing a boot apart and like
Yeah.
goofing around with it and playing with it, and it's bizarre and
Mhm.
like equal parts like weird and unsettling, but also like goofy and silly and funny. And I don't know how to feel about it. Listeners, you've got to watch this music video. It's so strange and like it's an experience.
Yeah, they have tons of
What?
videos
Like
like
I'm just looking at like what are they? Are they like? Is there a message to this? Is there a point? Is the point that there's no point? Like
that.
he's just destroying a boot.
Questions that have no answer. So
I really feel like I think this is just generally kind of the point with art, or one of the reasons to create art is to just like have a mood that you feel or something that maybe is as inscrutable to you as it would be to anyone else. But if you have the artistic capabilities to create something that just reflects that mood, I get the sense that these guys are just really good at doing that. Like you said with Hothead, you sounded like you were getting trolled or something. I do think it is a little bit inscrutable, and kind of the first time you listen to it, you're like, well, what the heck? But I had a pretty strong sense of like this guy or these guys like felt something, and then they just like they can just put it into sound really well. And maybe they don't understand it any better than we do, but it seems to be a sort of uninhibited and really unique expression. So
yeah,
Hothead, I mean, with all this music and certainly that track, like a lot better the second time around, a lot better than that the third time around. Once you
right.
kind of know what to expect, it's easier to get into, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean that is definitely like the fuck off moment. It's like like the second track in is just that. Yeah, no, it's sick. I love it. Yeah, Death Grips. They've just got it. They just do it, and they do it. I don't know.
And then it's like sometimes if it, like maybe they're trying to like poke fun at the people who are taking this too seriously. Maybe I don't know. Like the people who are like trying to like read too deep into like, oh, what's the meaning of this? Like there is no meaning. It's just like raw like
No, that's
emotion
not
and thoughts.
necessarily
Like
that
here
might
you
be expressed in some cases, but they definitely do have like
Oh, I
meaning.
mean, like no, like very, very specific. Like, here's what we want you to read it. Like, it's a little open for interpretation, I guess. Like,
Well, yeah, it's definitely abstract. I mean, it's a
that's
lot of,
abstract. That's exactly the word I was looking for. Like, it's
but there are definitely like cemented like like jolts of expression. Like they have messages, you know. It's not just like completely that. But yeah, that's definitely something that you could take away from it. Yeah, as far as just like the sound of this album, like to me, it just sounds incredible. I don't know how the fuck they do this shit, but it's insane. Just like I don't even know how to explain it. They have like just these like waves of like blazing laser beams that like they like accumulate into just like the song Spikes, right? The third track. To me, that song, like listening to that with headphones and really meditating on it and just like absorbing yourself in that sound. When I first heard that song in particular, that was the moment. So my experience with Death Grips is like in 2016. So that would have been when this album came out. I had this like older friend who's like also in high school, but he was like a couple years older than me, and he was like obsessed with Death Grips, and he I'm into my brain waves, and I listened to the Money Store, and I was like, "Yo, this is pretty." Well, he was just always playing like Bottomless Pit and Money Store and everything else. Uh, but yeah, so as Pit came out, I was listening to it, and at first, I was sort of like turned off by it for a few different reasons. For one, I just didn't like it. Just didn't really. The sound didn't originally like resonate with me very strongly. But Spikes is the song that like really grabbed me like into Death Grips and their catalog. Because hearing that sound, just like hearing it, I felt like I was like listening to like Spikes, like you have like audio like visualizers, right? It was like a 4D like visualizer. I was like stoned in the car with like with like three other dudes, and we're just like driving or whatever, and like this song is playing, and it was like strangely terrifying to me because I was like young, and also it was, you know, definitely like very fuck off, and like I don't know, just had this like weird dark feeling, that like nihilistic sort of expression that I picked up on, and so it kind of like made me feel weird. But once I like got into it, this was the song that like really just grabbed me because I seriously felt like just like the aesthetic that the sound had, like I felt it as like a physical feeling. I don't know how to explain it, but like like when I listening to that song, like the weird like laser beam like guitar whatever the fuck sound effects that are like playing into my ears with in the headphones, like when I close my eyes and lay back, like I feel like these like bouncing like weird like cyber like crystal chasm like spike balls like in my ears, and they're like bouncing back and forth. Like that's the thing that I like about Death Grips the most, is that feeling, if that makes any sense at all.
Yeah, certainly. We need to find out, is there a word for aesthetic that applies like specifically to sound? That would be a useful word to know for this podcast. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
I don't know.
You mentioned like listening to it and wondering how the hell they like made these sounds. I definitely feel that. They seem very adept at creating just whatever sort of sound they want, and there's a lot
Yeah.
of different stuff. So, I had some questions about a couple of related question mark bands, musicians, artists, people to Death Grips. First of all, Digine, aka Digibro, aka Trial of the Golden Witch. I commented earlier in Discord that like after listening to Bottomless Pit, I felt like I understood Digi's music better. I'm like, oh, this is clearly an influence. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yep, that is 100% correct. I assume, have you heard Digi like mention Death Grips before? Because they are hugely into Death Grips.
Probably once or twice, yeah.
They,
I don't remember too much off the top of my head.
well, they've definitely mentioned Death Grips like more than a handful of times. And yeah, I would definitely agree that it seems to be a major influence in their work.
So the other one I had a question about was a artist question mark band. I don't know, never heard of this until I was looking up Death Grips memes, and that's Caro Bonito, which people say is like
Whoa, you've
life
never
grips.
heard of Caro?
No, I haven't. I'm uncultured. Enlighten me. Do you see the little Roblox Death Grips guy in this meme?
Yeah. That's, if you don't know, by the way, that's MC Ride. That is the
MC Ride. I should know that. Yeah.
Yeah, he's the main MC of Death Grips. But yeah, no, Caro Bonito is like they're like J-pop. They're not actually J-pop because I don't think any of them are actually Japanese. I think they're like Korean, but it's supposed to be J-pop, but it's mostly just made for like Western weeaboos because it's not actually. It might be popular. They might be popular in like Japan, but definitely like it's like mucore, like pop, J-pop kind of thing.
So is it like Death
nothing to
Gripsified J-pop? Is it like
It has
experimental?
no. The sound is nothing at all like Death Grips.
So this is just a meme.
It's just a meme because they're both popular on like Mew. So that's like the kind of thing that would be like, haha, dude, I love J-pop. Like, yeah,
Well,
that's
just comparing everything to Death Grips as a meme, right?
yeah,
I mean, it's like, oh, this is like Death Grips for this people or whatever.
yeah. Yep.
Okay, yeah, that settles that, I guess.
Yeah. So I feel like I'm pretty satisfied with what's been said. Does anyone have anything else to add?
I guess just that I listened to this. I've never listened to any of their music other than like meme remix stuff until yesterday,
Uh-huh.
and I enjoyed this album. And we'll probably go listen to more of their stuff. And yeah, everybody out there, give this a try. It's interesting, and I liked it. Favorite tracks on this album were Trash and Spikes.
Oh, really? You like trash? I consider it to be trash. Lol. No, not really.
Couldn't help but notice the line in there. We upload trash. Are they?
I kind of liked this for that reason too. Just being able to hear upload trash and thinking that was a funny lyric, or I don't know if it's supposed to be funny, but caught my attention.
Are they like kind of like poking fun at themselves? Do you think, or
I guess I don't know. I'm not like a Death Grips aficionado. There's like Death Grips deep lore. Like it's dude, reddit.com/r/Death Grips.
You'll find the deep lore on reddit.com, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh my gosh.
But no, I mean, yeah, like I said, there's definitely stuff like that. They're very referential to their own thing, like to their own experiences and the way, like, because they tend to have like weird release schedules, and like they've like leaked albums and stuff. Like I think they've like leaked their own albums before like they were technically supposed to come out, and just like
I was reading about that. I think they like got dropped from a record label or something for leaking their own album. I might be misremembering that, but that was definitely a thing I read about.
Yeah,
they seem like the sort of group that there's like a lot of interesting behind the scenes stuff going on with it. Like there's the music is, layer one, but then layer two is like shenanigans they get up to.
Yeah, well, they have a very like mysterious mentality. Like they hate interviews. They're just like, fuck off. Just listen to the music if you want to like try and understand me or whatever. So yeah, that's Death Grips. Again, highly recommend this album as well as The Money Store. They are both like peak Death Grips IMO. So yeah, I would pretty much consider this album a masterpiece. A couple of the last tracks I'm not into as much. Like Trash is okay. Houdini and like the closer, just the self-titled Bottomless Pit. So yeah, but otherwise, and I think those songs still have the potential to grow on me. But like the first like 4, 5, maybe even 6 or so tracks, however many, up to like Bubbles Buried in This Jungle, like everything up to that point is like I wouldn't change a single thing on any of those songs. So yeah, that's Death Grips Bottomless Pit. All right, who's next?
Me, I guess. Oh boy, we got to listen to some generic rock this week with Hoobastank's The Reason. That particular single on that album is one that probably everyone has heard because it was a huge hit, like top 10 for back in the day. But as it turns out, the whole album is pretty good too. So yeah. So Hoobastank is a band that is composed mostly of three dudes: lead singer Doug Robb, guitarist Daniel Erston, and drummer Chris Hesse. And I know all this because I went and looked them up on Wikipedia this morning.
On Reddit.
Fun trivia: the name of the band comes from Doug mispronouncing the name of a street while they were in Germany. They thought it was funny, and so they went with it. As you can see in the album art, oftentimes they'll use the infinity symbol on all their albums instead of just the double O. But yeah, so they started out as like a funk, ska, punk metal type band in their early albums. Over time, they've just kind of become like alternative rock, new metal type, and they've released a couple albums before and since this one, but this was probably like their most famous period. As far as the album and the music, when this first came out, they had one of the tracks, Out of Control. The second track was on their website for free download to sort of like hype up the rest of the album. And people were asking about it. And let's see, quote from the lead singer. A lot of it is asking questions or questioning all that people see. It's not all about religion. Out of Control is about that and opening your eyes after being blinded by being devoted to anything, which I thought that was interesting because reading that and thinking about all the music in hindsight, there is a lot of themes and messages in the lyrics about like, oh yeah, like you got to do your own thing and like yeah, authority is bad and you got to like make your own way and blah blah blah. Mainly I'm just here because I just sort of like the sound. They get catchy songs. I like the way the songs sound, and it's pretty good. Do you guys have any particular thoughts?
So I was not especially into this album. It was a little bit like more emo, I guess, or like a little bit harder than I expected it to be, because I of course do know the single, which that song in particular, I actually do really like that song.
Yeah, that's what
Like,
put this band on the map.
yeah, I mean, like that song, like as a kid, sort of, like I feel like that song was a part of, like, it was, so to say, again, like planting the seed, like to make me emo in my later years. So yeah, I appreciate it for that. But that song, like Alex we were sort of saying this the other day, like that song does sort of feel out of place in the rest of the record. I almost wonder if it was like a label kind of thing where they were like, hey dudes, we need you to make like a pop song so that we can, sell this album and get on the radio.
I do wonder about that because I do agree that one song in particular is tonally very different than the rest of everything. Like the rest of it kind of just sounds like I think I've talked about before, like a single cohesive album, and this one just sort of sticks out. Not bad, but it's just different, which is
I mean,
though by the same token, them putting it kind of like in the middle is a nice way to like break things up.
yeah, I don't know. For me, this is just a little too like pop-y, like it's sort of like pop rock, I guess, like almost like an edgier Nickelback or something.
They're like the average of Nickelback and Linkin Park, or something.
Yeah, like that. Which is anything like I was like halfway through this album, I was like, this kind of reminds me of Nickelback. And I'm sorry, but for me, that is never a good sign.
All right, I'm doing Nickelback next music cast.
Do
Full
I'm
discography.
unashamed to say I don't think Nickelback is as awful as everyone gives them flack for.
Dude, it's like the greatest music ever recorded.
Yeah. So what did you think, Alex?
Yeah, so I agree that the reason it finds itself in contrast to the rest of the album. So of course I was familiar with the reason because it's been, you know, very popular and from the time that I was like around the time kids my age were starting to like notice music. So this has always been a song that I've known. Um, I don't think it's all that out of place. I think it serves as like a nice sort of break. I guess if you think like the album from start to finish, this is like a kind of a soft point or sort of a rest on the journey, if you will.
Not quite an intermission, but like
Yeah.
it's that sort of like
it's like a sort
breaking
of
stuff.
soft scene in a movie, you know, right before the climax or something like that.
Yeah.
That being said, you know, going in and knowing this song and having not listened to Hoobastank other than that, I was certainly not expecting it to be the way it was, which was it was much more in the direction of the type of music I prefer than I would have guessed from just the reason. It is kind of pop rocky. That's fine with me. I can get into pop rock. I think I'll probably listen to this more in the future. I like the sort of rhetoric of it, the themes. Like the first song, Same Direction, is kind of sort of lamenting how people see things from their perspective and think they're right and have trouble like understanding why or how people might think differently. You know, I certainly relate to that line of thinking that maybe things would be better, people could be more empathetic, and ideas like that sort of borderline existential or psychological or we live in a society type critiques are in this album, and I think that works really well as a theme in music. It's something that's very relatable and also very general and vague enough that you can kind of project your own feelings onto it. And sort of identify with the music in ways unique to yourself because it's very broadly accessible in its themes lyrically. So I think it did a good job of that, and I appreciated it for that. The style of music is also pretty good, like we said, kind of pop rocky, a little bit, maybe a little bit on the aggressive side for that, which is good. You can jam out to it. So yeah, I liked it for those reasons.
Yeah, I can totally see like a song on here being on like a Guitar Hero or something like that.
What you were saying about like the lyrics and how they're like broadly accessible and like they're pretty direct, you know, and sort of like repetitive. Like to me, like all of these things are like big no. Like I don't want this. I'm not like trying to like I don't know. It's just not for me. But yeah, it's something I probably would have liked in like high school when I was listening to sort of bands like this, like Senses Foul or like Sousen or Bayside and stuff like that. Those are like a little bit edgier, but they're kind of in the same wavelength. Yeah, yeah.
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 But yeah, I know this album is not like treading any new ground or like it's not like avant-garde or very like nuanced artistic. It's kind of like a little bit plain, but sometimes I like that. Just like this isn't like it's not like trying to like challenge you or like make you really think. It's just like, oh yeah, here's some like generic rock that you can just like put on and just like yeah.
Well, that's the thing is like I can't differentiate this from like I've heard a million things that are exactly like this, and that's kind of like that's for me that's like a huge turn off. It's like I've already experienced this. It's not any different than the ones that I've experienced before. Or at least that's how I like that's what it feels like to me. Maybe you guys like picked up on something unique or different, but for me
I think it's just a matter of I've heard a lot of stuff that's like this, but not as good. So it's one of those like, yeah, it sounds like a lot of other stuff, but it is like kind of higher tier within its own category.
Like,
I'm also pretty sure that Ryan, you've listened to a fuckload more music than Frigin and I
Yes,
have. So,
we're,
like, you know, your taste probably gets more picky.
Yeah,
the
we're
more you
pretty-
go through.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
pretty plebe over here. Or
No, yeah. You can
So-
call me a music plebe. Absolutely. I
yeah,
agree.
so and I'm not surprised that Alex, you like this more than Ryan does. Yeah, it's pretty, it's simple. Like, it's not going for anything like too far out of left field or experimental or anything like that. But it's just like, you know, it's just generic music to like put on and rock out to.
this is the sort of thing that like I would have never gone out of my way to listen to, like, because there's a lot of albums that are like this where it's like, it's just I feel like the album is just a catalyst for the single to exist, and it's like I don't know how much they cared about the music, or maybe they did, and it just happens to not be anything particularly special in my opinion. But it's like again, don't get me wrong, I really like the single actually. Like this song like plays on like the radio at like my work, and I'm like jamming. I'm like, yeah, this is like one of the good songs in the playlist.
Well, I hate to break it to you, but your opinion is wrong. Reason was the worst song on this album, and all the generic pop rock Linkin Park softcore was the good stuff.
Oh,
And
dude,
that's the correct opinion.
dude. All right, I'm gonna say this because you reminded me just now. But I was the other day, like, it's not related to this, and I'm sorry. Well, it is related to. Anyway, the other day I was listening to slowcore. I was listening to the band Duster, and I was like, dude, I should have done slowcore, so we could have had the yin yang slowcore speedcore.
Next episode.
It
We'll
has
do that
nothing to do
for the
with-
next one. We'll do that, and I guess because we keep bringing it up, I'm gonna have to bring in some like Linkin Park somewhere or other.
Okay, I thought you were gonna say Nickelback. I can
Someday,
Linkin
I'm
Park.
going to force you.
I can stand Linkin Park a little bit. But yeah,
I'll agree. Linkin Park is better than Nickelback.
most definitely, yeah.
Yeah, but this is I don't think this album is like too edgy.
Yeah.
It's just kind of, you know, it's pretty like middle of the road rock music, but it just happens to be an album I've had for like a long time, and so I've listened to it a bunch. And a lot of times I'll use is like just like mood setting music. Like if I'm like on a long road trip, this is one I'll often pop in, and because it's like I'm not trying to like think about it too hard. I just want some just like I just want something to listen to while I'm driving and not have to pay too hard attention to. So for that reason, I care more about like, you know, just like the instrumentals and how it sounds. And I really like the sound of this album. So like it's good. Like it's cool without being like, I don't know how well I could listen to like Death Grips or something if I was like on a road trip, because that demands a bit more of your attention, if you know what I mean.
Not necessarily. I mean, it definitely like it you can
Well, in my case where I haven't listened to it a lot.
sure.
Okay, well, I'm gonna listen to Death Grips and just get into road rage with everybody and like wreck some fucking cars. I think that's my plan.
Dude, Death Grips is actually really good driving music, I think. But anyway.
I think if I'd listened to that album like several times and I was familiar with it, then definitely. But
it definitely it definitely can receive your attention and deserves your attention, but you don't always have to give it your 100%. You could just drive to it and be like, yeah, I'm cool listening to Death Grips.
Probably if I was like trying to stay awake driving, I might opt for Death Grips over Hoobastank. That might be the criteria.
Yeah, that's a fair point. So, did you guys have any like particular favorite tracks? Well, I don't. Ryan likes The Reason. Alex does not.
Well, I think he was mostly memeing, but maybe not.
I don't know.
Yeah, mostly memeing, but maybe not. That was exactly what I was doing. I specifically referenced the lyrics from the first song a few minutes ago.
Same direction.
So that was something I noticed. And the second song, Out of Control, is I compared them to Linkin Park a minute ago. This is a good if you're trying to tap into that sort of like things are not okay type of energy. I would listen to Out of Control.
Yeah, that song in particular, and that was like I said, that out of the when the album came out, that one track was like available to listen to on their website for free back when people like listened to the website for a band.
Yeah. The reason is probably good music to donate $1,000 to Pokimane too. I think I'll play the reason when I simp in the future.
Yeah, listeners, this is not like a deep album or anything like that, but I just kind of like the sound of it, so I'd say check it out. It's a pretty good time if you want some like good old generic rock.
Listen to Silverstein if you want this, but edgier, a lot edgier.
I don't want edge.
Dude, come on. All right, is that it then for that one?
Yes.
Alex. Yeah, okay, good. That's a good note to transition on. A minute ago, you said this isn't too edgy. You're saying you don't want edge. Well, Speedcore is too edgy. The entire point of Speedcore is that it's too edgy.
Bloody Vomit Bukake.
Bloody Vomit Bukake, Pedal to the Metal opens up with, "Sir, do you often read the Bible?" And then the guy says, "No," and then it goes, and then the fucking music sounds like machine guns. It's just like if you record a machine gun, this is the music you wind up with. They say fuck a lot, like in Cold Pizza, the only lyrics are fucking shit, and they just like loop that a billion times. That's part of the genre. That's part of the point. Is it's edgy to the point of being satirical, and it's fucking hilarious. There's no nuance to the music whatsoever. It literally does sound like machine guns, which, as far as I'm concerned, is the perfect music. You don't need rhythms that do anything other than one thing. You don't need melody, or you just need like, and it's perfect. So I'm not too knowledgeable about Speedcore. I've definitely liked it and listened to it for years, but I don't know too much of the lore. I was looking into it a little bit. Apparently it much like DJ Sharpno and J-Core I talked about last time, it was kind of just one of the genres that progressed out of techno and hardcore dance music as people just started experimenting with electronic music and doing random stuff. Apparently people just wanted to make faster music. Some people liked making that, I guess. Apparently some of the stuff was like on vinyl in the 90s, some of the precursors to Speedcore. So that was really interesting. I haven't looked into that much, but I would be interested in doing so. We had some tracks on here like Kumo no Kireme from Kobario, which is like, I put that one in because it's like a softer song. It's like a normal song. It sounds like an anime opening or something. But then he, like every other verse, he just fucks it up with machine guns and it turns into Speedcore. So you can hear the contrast. We had Evacuate the Mosh Pit by Limo, which is a remix of Evacuate the Dance Floor by Lady Gaga, I think. So again, if you pointed a machine gun at pop music, you would get this. Yeah, we had Cold Pizza by MIDI, which, like I said, they just took a couple of samples from some movie or something. I don't even know. They say fucking shit a lot. They say, "Who is the 21st president? Go fuck yourself," over and over. And that, like, those clips are just looping over this hilariously aggressive, fast music. I don't care too much for just the repeating swears all the time. That takes me out of it a little bit. But it is funny.
I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah, Cold Pizza. I love the way the music sounds, and then the fucking shit over and over is not my favorite thing. So that one's kind of a mixed bag.
I'm glad you agree with me. I was going to say that pretty much exactly. A lot of the samples are kind of corny and really take me out of it, but otherwise, like, the sound is pretty sick.
You got to embrace it. I think that's the point with Speedcore. Is it is edgy to the point of being satirical. You've got to just eat it up.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fair.
Other notable tracks towards the end, we had Annoying Ringtone, Extratone Pirates. Extratone, the people who are like into this kind of music, they differentiate between terrorcore, which is like until it gets fast enough, you call it terrorcore. And then when it's like over 600 BPM, they call it splittercore. And then extra tone is when it's like 1,000 BPM and it's so fast that it sounds like tones instead of machine gun. I think that's all kind of bullshit a little bit from my relatively uninformed perspective. But I come to this music through the point of view of discovering it through rhythm games. And I can tell you, if you open this stuff in like the Stepmania chart editor and decide what BPM you're going to chart it at, it's not as fast as they say it is. There's a song, I think I've got this right. It's titled like 1,000 BPM Speedcore is the title of the song. It's not 1,000 BPM. It's 250 BPM. It's 1,000 BPM if the fastest notes are quarter notes, but no one does that. So I think some of the circle jerk between, you know, this is speedcore and this is splittercore. I'm not quite sure I buy the differentiation, at least in terms of BPM being the differentiating factor. But extra tone, like that song Extra Tone Pirates, is kind of has beats that are so fast they sound like tones. So yeah, I guess that's kind of my spiel on it. What did you guys think? Eric, what'd you think?
So my very first note on this that I had written down was my power level is not high enough to enjoy speedcore. I did not know it was possible to be afraid of music.
Good. Yes,
I feel like
understand.
that's the intended reaction. And I also concur with pretty much everything else I had written down was exactly what you just said. They're playing the drums with an Uzi. And
that's exactly right.
You will immediately know if speedcore is for you if you listen to even like a minute of it.
Did you have any tracks that you particularly did not like or particularly liked a little bit more than the others, or any standouts at all?
The closest I came to being able to get in one was probably Cold Pizza. I think that one was a bit more like the actual like synth drum they were using was like not quite as aggressive. And
there are more
the BPM
like in it.
Yeah, like it's closer to being a song than the rest of them, but yeah, I'm not surprised they use this a lot for DDR, and I can only imagine like trying to do this and probably just having a heart attack and dying.
Yeah, same.
So for me, first I have a quick question related to Stepmania, ITG, all that stuff. So I have to imagine a lot of these artists are like doing this for that community or are a part of this community in some way, because this music just like by definition of from this playlist, it seems to me that like one of the main defining factors of speedcore is the quote unquote machine gun, and that sort of machine gun, like the machine gun layer, is just like added upon to every track. So they all have this like same exact thing that is carried throughout all of them that just so happens to work perfectly for Aerostep games. So is that like, yeah.
So some of these guys, Kobario in particular, I think has been making music for actual money games, Beatmania maybe, whatever. When we talked about Sharpnel, and there was a DJ Sharpnel track in this playlist, the last one, which is one of his more speedcore-esque songs, and they've done music that's been used in these games, or that type of music. So to some extent, yeah, there's some crossover, and it is a fine line between speedcore and related, slightly more musical techno genres like J-core. I think the songs that are actually in DDR, some of them are slightly influenced by this, but not. I mean, Konami's not going to put straight up one of these songs in their games. Right. That's not really what they're going for. There is a lot of crossover. So I come to this through the In the Groove community primarily, and they all those guys, the people playing that game, rather, they got like huge into this music. Because it's perfect if you're trying to make a certain kind of chart. It's well known within that niche community, and I think to some extent some of the artists, because the speedcore community is relatively small as well, noticed, and I if I'm not mistaken, acknowledged to some extent that was going on. So there is a relationship there.
I asked because like, as far as like for me listening to this music, it's definitely interesting. It's cool, but it doesn't do a ton for me. Like, it's not something that I would like want to sit down and listen to all the time. But as far as like, if I were playing like in the groove or something or whatever Stepmania game, like this would be like I could absolutely imagine how this is like perfect music for that experience. So
Yeah, and especially if you come to it through the game, you'll probably be more likely to want to revisit the music. Yeah.
yeah, because like I can definitely see it within that context. Like if I were playing like BVB, as I will call it, like if I experienced that song initially through like Stepmania or whatever, then like I would totally like just playing that. Like I was thinking of myself like when I was listening to it, I was like, yeah, this is a fine song, but I was thinking of it as if I was like playing the game, and I was like, okay, yeah, that context, like I can definitely see where it thrives a lot more.
Yeah.
With that being said, though, I do like this. I think this playlist, I do like it a little bit more than the Sharpnel stuff that we went over last time. I do really like the second track, the Evacuate the Mosh Pit. That whole aesthetic of just like, yeah, just simply the evacuate the mosh pit and the
Yeah, shooting machine guns at pop
there's
music.
like,
It's pretty funny.
and well, it's just like so hardcore. It's like, yeah, it's just so fully embracing. And there's like the aesthetic with the album art and the title, like the album art is very like 2009 emo sort of, like almost has like Invader Zim vibes or something like that. Like,
yeah.
and it's got, which I'm very much so into that sort of thing. It's like the sort of like doodle, like the sketch sort of like emo style. That sort of thing is very much resonates with me. And also just like it was almost like I really liked how in this one there. So this like the vocals were sort of like distorted and sort of like there's like the vocals are like dug under the like initial sounds. There's like I guess 3 layers from what I depict of this song. There's like the instrumentation, there's the lyricism, and then there's the machine guns. And the distortion is sort of just like glazed over all of that. And it's really cool. I really like that song, definitely.
Yeah, that artist Limo, I tend to like a lot of his stuff as far as speedcore goes. It's and if you liked this or liked this relative to other speedcore, you might be inclined to like Limo's sound if you were so inclined to check out more speedcore. But I agree with you. That's a cool one.
Yeah. By like the Kumo no Kirime, by that point, like those 2 tracks, the Tenoshi Torture and that other one that I just said, at this point for me they were starting to blend together a little bit, like because I was sort of noticing like, okay, so this is the defining thing between them all, is like they all have like, it's like nightcore, sort of like anime, a lot of anime like samples and stuff and aesthetics, and then there's like machine gun sounds. And so at this point I was like, okay, I can see, like, if you're really into this, I could see why you would want to like just absorb yourself into it again. And if you're playing the game, I could totally see like why you would do that. For me, it's like a little repetitive. It's like kind of like I could see this getting old pretty quickly. But I still definitely like appreciate it. It's very cool. Definitely unique.
Yeah, that's fair. That makes sense. I think that's about what I would expect for a first impression from this. So that's if you kind of get the gist that coming to this to a rhythm game, that will always give any song or any genre more personality, any context like that. So I certainly think that's part of why it works. One note on something
very
you said.
interested to see somebody like actually playing one of the rhythm games to one of these songs. That would be super cool, I think.
/V4 Extreme.
If you search for tell me why Speedcore is so awesome, you'll find my video as the second one that comes up.
I know. It's more impressive
yeah.
live though, so you know.
I did want to say
done someday.
Yeah. Bloody Vomit Bukake. I think this will make it all the much better. That's not the name of the song. That's the name of the artist. That is
Oh
their
wow! So they're
Yeah.
just sticking with it.
They just are Bloody Vomit Bukake.
Wonder if 20 years from now they're gonna regret that. Like, oh,
No.
I wish I had picked something so cringe.
I mean, well, also none of these people. I don't think anyone, maybe MIDI, they're not selling this music for the most part. Most speedcore is not under a record label or getting sold, so it really doesn't matter. And that one couldn't be because it's just like a rip off of some J-pop song or a remix of some J-pop song where they
Right.
shot machine guns at it. I had trouble finding one that wasn't like blocked on YouTube Mobile to put in the playlist for that reason. But yeah.
Well, if you were gonna say something, you can go ahead. But I do have one other thing.
Oh, I was just gonna say, speedcore in general kind of reminds me of this phenomenon I've seen online of you guys know about Black MIDI?
I do not.
So it's
I
this
think I've
idea
heard
of
of that, but I don't know
yeah,
what
people
about.
it's I've seen people upload videos. So Black MIDI is just like a like MIDI piano playing some song, but they do a remix, so it's like 8 billion notes or something like that in a track, and like there's this whole community about people like remixing songs to have more and more and more notes and having to build like industrial grade PCs just to be able to play these MIDI. That they call it that because if you like pull one up on just like a sheet music thing, it's like the entire page is solid black trying to transcribe it as sheet music. And it's sort of like this where it's like billions of notes like crammed in really tight, super fast at the point where they're like they able to do like playing like
when you look up like a Synesthesia cover.
Exactly like that. Imagine that, except like every nanosecond they're playing 80% of the keys on the keyboard.
Mhm.
And it's like I've only experienced this from like watching YouTube videos of people who have run it and then recorded it, which takes like a massive amount of computing power. This is not a community I like really know a lot about. I know it exists. It's just I haven't like deep dive into it. But this makes me like, is that like so? And what you were saying earlier about like the competitive, like see how high you can crank the beats per minute, reminded me of that a little bit. But that's all I had to say was just that little tangent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So like to me it's like the samples is the other thing. If it's just like generic anime whatever, that's fine. But like when they do like the movie samples or like a lot of this stuff I know has like internet references, or at least it's like that with like I used to listen to like EDM, and like in like 2010s sort of EDM stuff, there's like like internet music, there's just a lot of like internet references, and so that kind of thing can really make things age poorly. Like I don't know, I just really don't like the weird voice samples, like especially like in Cold Pizza. There's that sort of thing, and it just really takes me out of it, like you were saying. But yeah, also I do relate to this music in a different way as well, because of the fact that like they're not really using like music theory or whatever. Like I can sort of relate to just the like, okay, we're just gonna take that song and we're just gonna give it distortion.
We're just gonna fuck it.
Yeah. Because like with like the like the quote unquote music, like the few things that I've just like messed around and made, like that's basically what I did, was just like I would just take other things and I would just destroy them with like digital effects. And so I definitely see that like that's what they're doing, and so I can relate to that regard. So yeah, that's cool. Oh, also one other thing I wanted to mention is I feel like in the first track there might be a reference to a thing. It also could be completely unrelated, but it's so I don't know if it's the album or the so you have Bonehead versus Prince of Darkness. Is that like two different people or is that one person?
Yeah, it's two people. They say verses when it's two people on a track. I mean, I guess a lot of people do that, but it's a very speedcore-esque thing to do. So
Yeah.
Bonehead is one guy, and Prince of Darkness with a V is another guy.
Okay, then maybe this isn't the case. I was gonna say that this could be a Bonnie Billy reference. There's this dude, like he goes by Bonnie Prince Billy, and he has a famous album called "I See a Darkness." It's like a suicide core like folk album, and it's just
I chloroform gum.
What does that mean?
just the wording where there's like Bonnie P and then there's like another B. I don't know. I don't know. Like I just like when immediately looking at that, it just made me think of that. I guess it's probably not a reference to that if it's just two different people. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Cool.
Yep, that's pretty much my thoughts.
I
Okay.
guess that about wraps it up. Yeah. We can go to comments. No one has any other music thoughts.
All I
Sure.
will say is all of our taste in music is phenomenal. Listen to everything we recommend on the show. Do it now. Go download all these songs right now.
Yeah, we've definitely
Do
got
it.
some sort of like chart or download thing in the description. So if you're interested, of course, go check it out.
I'm not asking. Do it. I command you. Listen to our music. If you made it this far, then you trust us. So.
I will machine gun you. Die.
Oh boy.
All right, comments. Give me
All right,
feedback.
comments. So since we've got lots of comments since the last time, on our video on Maiden Abyss, which may I just comment, I was not on that, so I do not know what any of these refer to. Now say 2.0 comments O.
Wait.
Just the letter O.
Really? Wait, hold up.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I see that. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Oh, indeed, sir.
Because like you watched Dawn of the Deep Soul, but you needed it explained to you, so you listened to us do that, and then you say, "Oh, yeah, he gets it. This guy gets it."
I almost wonder if this is like auto-generated or something. Like, or I guess that's a valid response. Yeah, sure. Thanks. Now say 2.0. Does this imply that there was a? Are you like the android of Now say?
Maybe his old account got deleted or he lost the password to log in, so he just had to make it again.
Now say 2.0's got 14 subs with no videos. That's pretty fucking killer, man. His header image is like a bunny and a panda shooting laser eyes at each other.
Yo, that sounds pretty rad. Let's go sub to them right now.
Everybody sub to Now say 2.0.
Yes,
maybe content someday.
Luke Cooper comments, "Cool discussion, smiley face."
Also true, yeah.
Yeah, we think I'm gonna give that a little heart.
Luke Cooper, interesting stylistic choice. He goes with the right bracket on his smiley face instead of a right parenthesis, which
absolutely.
makes me think that he
Rocket League channel.
Oh yeah, I remember. I checked out this guy when I read his comment. Yeah, he's like a Rocket League fiend. Thanks, Luke. Good. Yeah, good taste.
Stay cool, dog.
Do you want me to read the next one because it's very long?
Yeah, whatever. Sure.
And also, I don't know how to pronounce any of the names of anything in the show because I haven't watched it yet. Okay, so maybe I'll make this funnier. Okay. Suo Mainoa comments, Ido front spins in the manga as well. It's how it generates power. Bondru's helmet has nothing to do with Zoholic, nor him switching bodies. Primarily for letting Prushka know who her papa is.
Okay, actually, this is going to spoil the movie, so we should maybe not do this. Yeah, I just wanted to hear you try to pronounce shit for a little bit. But this person,
funny, but
this person's what Suo Nona left a long comment, adding a lot of context and information, and extra thoughts about the Maiden Abyss movie that we left out, didn't cover, or were unable to demystify. It was a really good comment. 7 updates.
Spoilers can't read, so.
I'm looking at Suo Mainona's channel, and they have a like a Maiden Abyss, like I guess a meme video up with like 59 views. It's about to be 60.
Post it here. Maybe I'll watch it sometime.
Oh, don't! It'll spoil a very important thing. I'm watching it right now.
Never mind, I can't.
But yeah, thanks, Suo Mainoa. That was actually a legit, really good comment.
Thank you.
Yeah. These long ones are great, even if they're full of spoilers, because you should have watched our episode and also the movie. Yeah. Diego says, pretty good insight overall.
See, Diego gets it.
Yeah, he knows what's up.
Let me check out Diego's channel real quick. Let's see what Diego's up to. Diego. Ooh, not a lot of content here. All right, Diego, you keep leaving your comments. Comment only channel. Good for you.
Jason Brennan also left a very long comment that was about the show and the movie and stuff. And I assume is very informative and also probably full of spoilers. So won't read, but thank you a bunch for
your information.
Yes,
I hadn't seen this one. This is another. Yeah, I'm glad people are engaged. Cool.
Yes, and the last one on Made in Abyss from the Frigin says, "This is good, but the audio distortion is really distracting and annoying." Of course, the one episode I wasn't on is all messed up.
Yeah, man, Craig, what the fuck, Craig?
Yeah, sorry, dude.
Craig. God, well, if you know, our subscribers deserve better. I have no excuse. We'll step it up.
This is why I have to be on every episode of the show.
Before this episode's audio is eliminated via destruction.
Oh boy! Someday I may try to like repair the audio for this episode and re-upload it. So, Kragarin, don't you worry. Someday,
remastered.
I'll remaster this episode.
Dude, the Kragarin, his name literally has Craig in it. This is like a conspiracy.
Yeah, dude. I don't know.
Maybe they're in league. Have them as a guest on our show sometime, and maybe we can find out what him and Craig are up to. Trying to sabotage our episode.
Dreamcast Daisia comments on the Cave Story episode. This is a cool video.
Yes, it is.
And we had another comment from Dreamcast Daisia following up. Crash content, very good quality for someone with less than 30 subs. Damn! Open mouth surprised face. See, finally, getting the recognition we deserve.
Someone gets it.
Dreamcast Daisia Insta sub, my man. He's got videos up. Check out Dreamcast Daisia.
Oh, he's
96 subs, 9 videos.
So what a fucking hero. His name is also Dreamcast Daisia, which is fucking sick.
He's literally carrying society, this guy.
Yeah. Very cool. I dig it.
If by society you mean our subscriber count, then yes, he is the
thanks, fam.
The hero that we deserve.
Make sure to stick around. If of course, this is our comment segment. So if you have a comment that you leave, we will talk about it. For now,
someday. It may be a while before we read it, and it may be even longer before the episode's posted. But rest assured, someday it will appear on the channel.
Yeah.
Get in now before we're too big to do that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So is that it?
That's it for me.
I think so. Well, thanks everybody for listening to another A-tier episode of the Crash Content Podcast. Be sure to watch the rest of our stuff because we always have informative and interesting things to talk about. And
absolutely never fails.
Every single time.
Every single time. All right. Peace out, folks.
All right. Later, everybody. Bye.
Bye.